Hello guys, welcome to testbot this automation tutorial channel. Today we are going to get started with microservice testing with Postman. Let's get into presentation. Before we get into Postman, let's see some basics. What is software testing? It's an examination process conducted on application or system under test to make sure whether it meets the requirements or not. Also, it should aim to find an application issues or defects for any incompletion or any misleadings. Good software testing should also aim to break an application. What is test automation? It is still same examination process in which we use tools or softwares to make the testing faster and repeatable. Why do we need to go for an automation? To increase team's efficiency, conducting more cycles of testing, reduces the manual testing effort, also improve the accuracy and consistency of the test results. What are microservices? Microservices is a software architecture design pattern where larger application or business are broken down into smaller independent services. Each and every microservice has one its specification or requirements. In this architecture, microservices are communicate with each other to perform overall business application. For an example, Amazon.com may have services such as user service, account service, payment service, inventory service, authentication service, reward service. We can keep going. I just naming only few, but there could be a chance hundreds of microservices also may exist for a given application or given system. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. Ensures interoperability. What does it really mean is the service to service or system to system communication may happen in a seamless way. One system does not need to know the internals of other system. For example, Amazon.com wanted to post transaction on credit card. It could be Master or Visa credit card. How do they do it? Visa network may have some microservices which can accept a request from retails like Amazon and they can post a transaction on the card. These two microservices have authenticated way of communicating with each other, but one system does not need to know the entire internals of the other system. Just wanted to know only the basic contracts. Usually they communicated over predetermined contract or JSON format. They will communicate the details. The rest based on HTTP protocol. Mostly communication happens using JSON format, but not always. By implementing HTTP methods such as get, post, delete, put, patch, there are so many methods are available, but mostly these five are used quite often in industry. It's a client server architecture. Communication happens in stateless manner, meaning the moment the server reply backs to the client's request, server no longer remembers the client for future communication. So every single time the client has to authenticate himself to get the responses from the server. So this is a sample architecture design for small application that I found from internet. So you could see like account service, inventory service, shipping service. So everything is part of the microservice, and clients such as mobile apps and browsers are connected to the microservice through the API layers, and they are interacting with each other and finally getting the details from respective backend system. What is Postman? Postman is a popular open source tool for REST-based API development and testing. It provides a user-friendly interface for sending HTTP requests and viewing the responses, make it easier for developers to debug what is happening in the each and every service or each and every API call that they are developing. Why Postman? Postman is a sandbox, meaning the libraries needed for development and testing already integrated as part of the Postman itself. So if you get just download Postman, it has everything needed within the own. It doesn't need any external libraries to be loaded. It's a user friendly and very famous in industry who develops the REST based microservices, and also it's a document friendly. You can document all your APIs details. It's also helps to take a, and also it helps to do this simple automation. So folks who doesn't have the experience in test automation, they can easily automate because they provide a lot of code snippets, lot of JavaScript code snippets they provided, which we can use it to automate it. And also it has advanced features like running running the test through CLI, meaning command line interface, and also we can schedule it. And also the requests that we recorded or the collections that we recorded can be kept in cloud and accessed from anywhere. Postman also has cons, meaning disadvantages, which we can see later. For this exercise, we are going to use sample REST-based application called recrest.in. This is the URL. You can just type in and see there are a lot of APIs being developed by this open community for the purpose of folks to explore and learn about REST-based APIs or REST-based service. Before get into test automation, I would like to ask a question. What is a foundation for good test automation? I would like to give 5 seconds. If you want more, you can pause it and think about the answer. Obviously, good manual test cases are foundation for test automation. If you take here, these are the list of test cases I'm planning to do. I written both positive as well as negative cases. Let's quickly look at the positive cases. When we say manual test cases, doesn't mean that we have to write only in Excel. Those are conventional approach. Not necessarily we need to go write in that way. There are many ways we can write that test, like feature file, a Gherkin file, and or even we can write it in the Confluence page, Jira. So for the simplicity, I'm writing all the tests here as a scenarios in the presentation itself. Okay, these are the positive cases. So we are first trying to create the user by sending a valued payload to API using post method, and we are going to expect what is the response code it's supposed to send and whether the user is created or not. The next test case is going to be get an existing user by using a valid ID, then updating some information of the existing user, then deleting the user just we created, then finally calling a login API to confirm that the user ID is valid or not. As I already explained in the beginning of the video, a good software testing should also aim to break an application. These are my negative test cases where we are trying to see the application behavior when things are not right. For example, we are trying to create an user by not sending the important field such as email ID. Also trying to get an user who doesn't exist. Also calling a login API by sending valid ID without the password. Also calling a login API with a user ID which doesn't exist to see whether it returns a proper error message or not. Now we are moving into Postman. So this is how the Postman UI looks like. So you could see the left section, it has all the collections. Collections nothing but a group of records. If you see here, I already created some folders called positive cases and negative cases to make play around. But what we are going to do is we are going to create a new collection. We are going to get started with some of the requests, some of the test cases that I already shown in the PPT, right? So we can see like how we can make a call, and we can how we can do the positive test case and one negative test case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new collection, new. So if you click here, it will come as a new collection. Live, I'm calling it as just live, and let's go to the list of APIs. Let's go to the application. So this is a request.in. So the UI that you are seeing, right? This is just a presentation layer that they simply wanted to document what are the APIs are available. But behind this in, there is a different web service which going to make a call or which is calling these APIs. this developers just wanted to give some idea about what are the APIs they are created and the interaction everything. So they are just calling it out. They're calling out from the UI, but behind the scene there is a web service sitting in the internet which performs this operation behind the scene. So no need to get confused. This is not a UI application. We are testing web service. This is a just UI layer representing that web service. So you could see here we can make the same call through the Postman. Let's see the login. So in case they wanted to perform a login, this is how they will be calling. They will be calling slash API slash login. By posting this payload, they will get the response. So I'm going to create a new request. I am going to call this API slash API slash login. Before that, we need to tell the domain where this particular web service has been deployed. So it is going to be https request.in login. So this is how it looks like. We are intent to call login API. The login API is not a get operation. Logging API is not get method, is a post method. So we need to select the post method, and when we sending the post, we need to send the payload like this. So we need to go to this particular section called body. We need to select raw, and here we need to select JSON. We need to post this JSON payload, and if we call it, we should get response something like this. So this is what the success response looks like. Now let's see how we can do the assessment. So whatever we so far done is, we made a call, we send it, and we manually confirmed it, meaning visually confirmed that it has a 200, and it generated a token as per the requirements. Now we have to do the assertions. Let's see the simple assertions that we can do. This is what I mentioned in the presentation, that Postman provides a lot of JavaScript code snippet which we can use it. Right now I'm going to use a very simple assertion, status code validation. That's it. If you make a call, if you make this API call one more time, this test will be performed as part of this request. Let's see one. Let's see how that works. See, you get the test result. If you notice, previously we didn't have this section. Now after adding, it says that status code is 200. That's it. Like this, there are so many code snippets you can use it to perform a test or assertions to make sure this API is working fine or not. Let's see how we can go little further. Focus only on the response code 200. This is not the proper test. We have to do little more assertions into it. How can we make sure that the response body has this token? We cannot predict this one because this value keep changes dynamic, but whereas this token is a key, we always supposed to get it in the response when the response is success. So let's see. So this is how we can see whether the response has the record string that we are looking for. So if we make this statement, it will make sure that whether it has a response or not. Okay. So let's see whether this is really working or not. I'm intentionally going to change this value to something like this. See whether this pattern exists in the response or not. If I do this, I'm expecting a failure. Let's see. Right. So one test case passed, meaning the 200 response code is passed, but whereas we didn't get this pattern in the response, which is expected. So let's bring it back and run it. Okay. So we made a call and we return a test. And also Postman provides an option to save a response for future reference. You can save it here if you want to. Now let's see how we can do negative testing. I'm just going to clone the same request one more time. Just this is how we are going to see what happens when we are sending the valid user ID without password. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to use only the ID, email ID, but not the password. Bad request. So we need to come here and fix the assistant because we cloned it. This is not the right. So we need to make sure that test code is 400. It's supposed to always return 400, and we can look for missing password. This is the message that we want whenever we conduct negative testing like this. So we are expecting missing password. Now let's make sure the test passes. Yes, we successfully returned one negative testing. Let's save it and we can save the response if you want to. Let's do one more negative testing. Again, I'm duplicating, cloning it, delete, negative login 2. Now we are going to do the user who doesn't exist. So let's come over here, put credentials properly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the user who doesn't exist. There is no user in the system called test parts because the application that we are seeing is a mock application. It doesn't have any user ID like this. I'm going to see what is the response we are getting. So this is the correct user. So this is the correct response. User not found. We are getting it. Still the test case failed because we cloned it. We did not change the test. Let's see what is the response code we are supposed to get. We are supposed to get 400. That is right. One pass. The other one is user not found. We are expecting. That is not right. For this test, we need to say user not found. Now test case passed. Both the test cases are passed, and we can save the response if you want to. Okay, guys. I think this video is going really lengthy. Let's continue in the next video.